Hello, everyone. Matt here. I wanted to take this opportunity to give you a little bit of an overview of the business development strategy that we will be implementing at Aventus. It's been a very busy and exciting 2 weeks since the passing of the proposal. So thank you again for everyone who voted in favor and had onboarded our team into the Aventus community. It's been really exciting to getting to know everyone. Obviously, it's been a few weeks of trying to wrap my head around some of the existing processes that are in place, but also thinking about how we can repurpose some of the stuff that we have, as well as some of my previous kind of experiences to really drive Aventus forward, especially now with the new exciting model and the new exciting kind of tools at our disposal. I think we can do amazing things. And before we really dive into the deal making and deal closing and negotiating the specifics with the different partners that are in the pipeline, I wanted to really spend some time with Alan, Ellie, and some of the team to understand how we can take what we have and really build it into a repeatable process, and how I can bring in some of the experiences that I have into Aventus, and how we can kind of together drive both new business as well as kind of convert the existing business, upsell existing opportunities. So it really has been kind of eye-opening for the last few days, speaking to everyone on the team and understanding what amazing stuff we have at our disposal, both from a tech perspective, but also from a kind of people capital perspective, and obviously the experience that we've had. So yeah, just wanted to kind of give you an overview of what those 2 weeks helped me learn about the ecosystem and how I hope we can take it forward. A lot of the stuff, some of you might be familiar with, and a lot of it is kind of standard, sales approach. But I want to kind of give everyone an overview who might be less familiar with how kind of BD works, both in the traditional sense of things as well as the kind of Web3 sense of things. So we'll kind of run through everything, and hopefully this gives you a bit of an insight into how I'll be working, and hopefully how we can, drive value to the ecosystem together. So I wanted to start with a little bit of an overview as to why we're even thinking about BD initiatives today. Right. So obviously, Aventus is in a very exciting moment. The new 2.0 model, the app chain model, is introducing a lot of new opportunities from a commercial framework perspective. A lot of the tools that we have now lend themselves to deals that would not have been possible, let's say a few weeks or months or years ago. So I think we're in a really good place where we can really capitalize on the tech that we have. But also, we're in a place market-wise where the upchain model is becoming increasingly popular, and I think the fact that Aventus now fits that narrative and can be on its forefront, I think, is very important for both our success, but also in general for the market, providing more solutions in that custom upchain, custom rollup space. I think is really useful, and I think there's going to be a lot of clients that might want to enter the space but might not get the same kind of hand holding and results from other partners as they might from Aventus. So I think it's a really good moment for kind of a commercial double down, if you will, in terms of manpower, but also a strategy of how we go and sell this model. And also, I think it's a good time to bring in some structure, as obviously everyone here at Aventus has done an amazing job so far, and I've seen some amazing opportunities being brought and closed, and I think it's a really good moment to uh, learn from these successes and really understand what elements we need to keep, what elements we need to evolve, and how we can build this into a repeatable machine, and actually now take those successes and make them kind of happen all again and again and again. Um, I hope some of the whys also evolve around more rigid due diligence. It's obviously useful to have more than one head put together to understand whether a deal is worth taking or not, whether there is someone out there that we might want to speak to that we might have not thought about. So I think that kind of due diligence muscle is always useful, and having a dedicated team paid to do exactly that is, I think, useful for the community and the ecosystem. And that kind of brings me to the initiative itself. For those that might not be familiar, obviously the reason why I'm here is the BD initiative, business development initiative, being passed 2 weeks ago, kind of puts our team in place, and I think hopefully addresses some of these why questions. All of the team members, including myself, is obviously kind of if by design, here incentivized to grow and incentivized to serve the community and the tech itself. So obviously, if you look into the proposal, you'll see that a lot of our kind of structure in terms of how we get rewarded and what it is that we should be doing and what makes us stay and keep going revolves around driving those common goals. So I think that's very important. And yeah, please obviously do take a look at the proposal still up on the platform so you can understand better how we as a team are structured. And that kind of takes me to the goals of our team that we are benchmarked against, like I just mentioned. I think we all care about obviously the success of our community. We obviously, as as token holders, as participants in the ecosystem, we want to have a say over how the treasury is being managed and what exciting new opportunities we can take the treasury to, and where we think as a community the tech should be used. So to kind of align with those needs and with those expectations of the community, obviously the goal as a team for us is to drive new app chains in this new Aventus 2.0 model. And the reason why we would want to do that is because all of the new app chains that will be joining the ecosystem by design contributes towards the Aventus treasury with their native tokens, somehow as a somewhat of a of a fee that they pay in that form for using Aventus as a security layer. And that to us as a community is good because the treasury grows, and then we as token holders get to vote on something more meaningful. If the treasury is double in size and we get to deploy double the capital, obviously our vote in that double capital is going to be worth more and more important both to us but to anybody else around. So I think it's important to think as app chains as ultimately participants in our joint good, the treasury being our joint good. And the more successful app chains we have that contribute more tokens towards the treasury, the more opportunities we as the voters will have. There's going to be more levers to pull, more exciting things to do with those tokens, and ultimately more capital to play around with and decide on its direction. Secondly, Aventus kind of mainnet transactions is obviously a North Star for all of us. Higher transaction volumes mean, higher usage of the token itself, higher gas fees paid, more gas fees paid, which ultimately is a metric that we all care about. And the demand for the token being increased. And thirdly, kind of a bit more of a softer goal is brand partnerships, which kind of blend the world of business development and marketing together. But from a BD perspective, we definitely care about the quality of those partners signed, not only because we care about their size and the volume they're gonna bring to Aventus mainnet or the value of the token that they're going to bring as an app chain, but also from an intrinsic, intangible perspective. Aventus will benefit from higher brand equity being brought into the ecosystem. So we want to make sure that these are nice and shiny and of course valuable in its core, but also from a brand and names perspective, we do want to attract the names that people are familiar with. So now that we understand, why it is that the team is here, what the team looks like, and what the goals for the teams are, I want to get into the what, the how, and the why. So ultimately, what it is that we have at our disposal to reach those goals. What are the products that we can go to market with, and what are the products that we can sell to achieve those goals? How are we going to take those products, and how are we going to sell them, and who are we going to sell them to? Ultimately, if you think of a sales team, a business development initiative, these are the three questions that we need to answer and have a really good grasp of. So without further ado, starting with what it is that we sell. What is it that we have at our disposal that can help us move the needle on those aforementioned goals? Well, we kind of have two components here, right? So obviously there is the blockchain component that we have that you are familiar with. We have the mainnet Aventus blockchain that we can use as a tool. We can deploy apps on top of that blockchain, and we can send kind of our clients, enterprise clients, or wherever they are from, onto Aventus mainnet as the kind of blockchain layer, and that is the solution. In the blockchain space now, as we move into Aventus 2.0 model, we also have app chains at our disposal. I'm sure you would have heard of those, and I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with what they mean. Basically, these are kind of their own little blockchains that sit on top of or on the side of Aventus, if you will, and derive some security from Aventus, but might have their own design in terms of token as a gas token. They don't have to use AVT. They can kind of design themselves as they want. Like I said before, this kind of unlocks a lot of new deals because a lot of the corporate partners we might want to partner with might not be comfortable with a dApp on top of Aventus mainnet, but might be comfortable with their own chain, where we get to design some of these experiences with them. We kind of think of two flavors here in terms of these app chains. One being its own, corporate specific app chain that the corporation and the partner might decide about the participants in that app chain. Or we can also think of, industry specific app chains. So let's say we do really well in a particular industry, let's say aviation, and we decide that actually it's good to take some of that, activity that has been happening on Aventus mainnet with all of the aviation kind of use cases and deals and put them into an aviation specific app chain. And here again, obviously there are pros and cons to doing so. Obviously, we want to keep some activity on the Aventus mainnet as well. But in terms of scalability and long-term goals, having that chunk of activity happening in their own, in their own app chains, might be beneficial because we do get treasury contributions still. Those app chains still derive security from Aventus at a kind of a global scale and allow us to fit more and more activity into the ecosystem. The kind of mainnet itself obviously has a certain capacity that we would otherwise reach probably at a certain point if we didn't scale kind of vertically. So that's the blockchain part. We can kind of pick and choose components here that we want to use, and then on top of the blockchain component, we obviously need the apps themselves, right? The solutions that the clients will use. And here, I think a great thing about Aventus is that we already have battle-tested product market fit solutions that we've delivered to several industries, and I'll talk about them in a second, where we've kind of proven value across different industries, how we can deliver the value of the blockchain part, the Aventus mainnet and app chains, via kind of an app, an interface that some of these companies can actually use and see that value. So when I think of our business development strategy and opportunities, a lot of our focus is going to be in that box, the industry specific products that we've spent years developing. We've spent years kind of honing in on them, iterating over them and kind of going to market with them. And I think we have a really good foundation here across the different industries. I've mentioned aviation, but loyalty as well, customer brands, documents on chain. There's several tokenization. There's several products that we've successfully built and delivered that we can really rinse and repeat. And that I want to spend a lot of time doing with Alan and the team, trying to really understand how we can almost compartmentalize these products, make them their little own kind of product lines with their own go-to markets, with their own target kind of audiences and their own strategies. And I think they can almost act as their little startups, kind of really being kind of pitching for themselves while still using Aventus in the back end. And then we have the kind of tailoring ability that I wanted to mention. Obviously, at the app layer, we have great teams and great individuals that can help us take those industry-specific products and actually make new ones, or come up with ways in which we can tailor those to new industries or new specific use cases. And I really want to think of that little box as our iteration lab, and our ability to take those products that we already have and have been kind of selling, and perhaps come up with new ways on how we can make them better. So that's the what. That is the toolkit we have at our disposal, both across the blockchain as well as the kind of app layer. And now I guess the question is, how do we sell it? Now that we know what it is that we can sell, and we have all those great industry-specific products with industry pinpointed problems. Well, in general, there's kind of two ways in which you can go about it. Usually you think of the kind of pool of prospects that you might have at your disposal to either be inbound, coming to you, or outbound, kind of us proactively chasing people. I like to think of that spectrum to have kind of a middle box as well, and I'll get into that in a second. But obviously, starting from the left and the the inbound side of things. Alan and the Aventus team, Ellie and everyone have really developed a great network. And being part of the Polkadot family, having some really good marketing content being pushed out there, we get a lot of eyeballs onto Aventus just kind of by itself, and that means that there's a lot of conversations that come our way. And a big part of our job here, and a big part of the strategy as well, is making sure that we put the right amount of attention and effort into analyzing and understanding these introductions. Usually, when they come our way, that means they're probably a bit warmer. We refer to these as warmer leads, more hot leads than cold leads, because they have been preconditioned already. They have had an idea of Aventus. They've been subjected to some of our proposition, and they come our way because they're actually interested. And I think it's very important to pay attention to those conversations, those leads, because usually these are the people that are excited about using our product. So a big chunk of the time we're going to be spending is that due diligence on inbound leads. So understanding whether the conversations that are incoming are worth having. Very often they are, because they are pre-qualified. They have already gone through several stages to make it all the way to us, whether through someone at Polkadot or whether through someone in our team. So by the time it makes it to me, it's most likely a conversation worth having. And that's a big kind of part of our time is going to be spent on those. And then we go back to our toolkit, and then we think, okay, this conversation is like that. Where do we put it? Where do we fit it into our little box of tools that we have? How do we best serve that customer? Then on the other end of the spectrum, on the right side, we have the outbound kind of selling, right? So this is kind of our direct sales, our more proactive approach to looking out for people that might be interested. Here we have, all the way from kind of automated email and LinkedIn campaigns, which we will probably be running. We haven't gotten around to it yet, but I definitely want to spend some time to establish these processes. We live in a day and age where a lot of these things can be automated and can be iterated on relatively quickly. So hopefully, in terms of time commitments, we're not going to spend that much time on designing these, but we can definitely take advantage of them kind of happening in the background as we do our job on some of the more qualified later stage deals. But there's definitely going to be a lot of understanding our target audiences, what messaging kind of resonates with them, and designing campaigns that are going to be going out to these people, hopefully resulting in them getting back to us with some interest. Obviously, much lower conversions on the outbound campaigns than some of the inbound conversation. That's why we would usually refer to an outbound lead as a cold lead, because they have not been subjected to Aventus as much as some of the inbound leads. But it's always worth doing, and we definitely, and because it's repeatable and because it's scalable, we can do a lot of it, and we can hopefully, even at very low conversions, if the volume is high, we can hope to have a few conversations coming from the outbound space. Especially in the Web3 world, there's a lot of networking to be done, a lot of events to attend, where hopefully some of these conversations become less cold and a little bit more warm. And that takes me to that middle section, where I like to think of certain partners that we can engage, like whether that be consultancies, whether that be other dev shops, whether that be kind of ecosystem participants that can vouch for Aventus on our behalf. And I really like this bucket, because it can also be really scalable. We only have as much time as we have as people. But if we enable others to pitch Aventus on our behalf, and if we enable others to talk about our product lines and what is possible on our behalf, that really multiplies the effect of how far we can get. So I definitely want to spend some of our time as a team on identifying those channel partners, who these partners might be, and how do we best equip them with an understanding and a knowledge of Aventus that can help them kind of sell for us. So that's the three buckets I like to identify in the kind of pool of prospects and how we get to them. And hopefully from each one of those buckets at different rates, we will be getting warm leads that then can be assessed and understood by our team and myself, and ultimately become deals that hopefully by the end will actually be put in front of you as the community in the form of an app chain, or another format, and for you to assess whether we've done a good job and whether you're excited about them or not. And that's ultimately what we're here to do. So we got the what, we got the how. And now the question is, okay, so who is it that we're going to be speaking to? We have all of these methods that we can use to get to these people. We have all of the tools required uh, to uh, to effectively sell to them. And now a question about what are the targets? That's obviously a very broad question. I think there is a lot to do in a lot of places, but I just wanted to quickly summarize how I want to be thinking about the landscape, at least for the next 6 months. Obviously, we have targets to hit. We as a team want to deliver value within the next 6 months, so we need to focus on places where we can deliver that value quickly. Um, I want to kind of think differently about the way we approach the Web 2 world and the Web 3 world. Historically, Aventus has been very Web 2 focused. And a lot of the selling has been done towards enterprises, and I think that's a really good thing. That's why you'll see the Web 2 bucket being a bit wider than the Web 3 bucket, because I think most of the proof that we have and most of the amazing work that we've done is in the Web 2 space. But I also don't want to forget about the Web 3 space, and that's for kind of different reasons that I'll get into at the deal type stage. But before then, in the Web 2 world, we definitely want to keep focusing on the industries where we have those product lines that I've mentioned, that we've proven value with, that we can keep going to market with. That is across supply chain and logistics. This is where our aviation work comes into play. This is across customer brands and loyalty. This is where VOW, Enigmatic Smiles comes in, across credential and records. And this is kind of where all of the narrative around using blockchain as a joint ledger to store data comes in. We have some amazing products built in here, and I believe we can go after those industries in a very specific way, actually. And that kind of gets me to the deal type. It's all about the enterprise wanting to venture into the Web3 world, medium to large size enterprises that have existing processes in their workflows that might slightly or not slightly or significantly benefit from using blockchain inside of their workflows. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel here necessarily. All of these solutions across those industries that I've just mentioned are incremental benefits to their existing workflows, and I think that's where a lot of the value will sit. So whether we're talking about aviation and handling containers and baggage, these are processes that exist, and they can benefit from the nature of blockchain itself and from a solution that we've developed on top of that blockchain, and we can very clearly show that there is value in that. And that's what I want to do, because I think we can take products that have been sold before, and we can show how we have improved those processes before. And here again, going to the toolkit, once we've identified those enterprises, we can kind of here pick and choose from all of the portfolio we have. We can put these enterprises onto Aventus mainnet if they're not picky. We can push them onto the AppChain model, and that's our preference, of course, because of the scalability and the contributions to the treasury argument. And that in that world, we can be much more tailored, and we can come up with more exciting ways in which that solution will help them. Or we can put them into those industry specific app chains where they can kind of live together, almost maybe as consortiums, kind of benefiting of each other's presence in that app chain. I think there's a lot of cool things that we can do here. So that's the kind of bit that I think will probably cover most of our targets, and that's where a lot of inbound is coming from. Some of the warm conversations, some of the warm leads that we have are usually those medium to large sized enterprises that are kind of aware of processes that they have and the benefits of blockchain to those processes. And that's where I think we can very quickly show that Aventus is the right place to do it at. And then the kind of more maybe exotic Web3 space, or maybe exotic for us as Aventus, is where I think we can prove value in a relatively interesting way. We've seen some traction in the Web3 space as well. Most recently, obviously, the Truth Network, prediction markets being a bit more Web3 native, if you will. And I think here, in terms of targets, we can really think about existing dApps, existing protocols that live on other blockchains, whether that's in DeFi, whether that's in SocialFi, whether that's in gaming. And these would be dApps that are already of considerable scale and might consider an app chain due to its size, volume, and kind of revenue considerations. There's several reasons and there's several scenarios in which a dApp on an existing blockchain might choose to become its own blockchain, whether that's because they want to stop paying the fees of the original network and they want to stop charging their users the dApp fee, but they might just want to rely on the network fee itself and that network fee belonging to them might be a source of revenue. And there's kind of a few more of these, and we've seen that happen in the industry. Whether we take the Uniswap example, that kind of moving away from a DApp model into an app chain model, some of these things we can try and kind of fit into the Aventus narrative, and I think that would be exciting to see. I think the Web3 world moves quickly, and I think that's a benefit to us as well. We can prove value quickly, and the kind of the nature of deal making in the Web3 world is a bit more. It's a bit softer. It's a bit more kind of human-like, so it's a bit easier to do business, if you will. Well, easier or harder is I guess that might be subjective, but I found it to be a bit more natural. So I want to spend some time also taking kind of leveraging some of the relationships that I have or the network that we've developed so far to try and close some Web3 native deals. And in terms of toolkit here, obviously, as I mentioned, we would be pushing the custom app chain narrative. So that's the who. We know what we have, we know how we can take what we have, and we know who we can take it to. And I think that really, hopefully, gives you an insight into how I'm thinking about it. I appreciate this has been a quick overview and maybe a bit of a brain dump. But I would really kind of want to hear your feedback on this approach. This is a bit of a blend of kind of how you think about sales traditionally, with how you can do sales in Web3, with how Aventus positions itself in that world of Web 2.5. So I hopefully we can bring some really interesting things together with this approach. And just to kind of close things off, I wanted to, obviously show you guys that this has been done, yeah, and Aventus has delivered that value across uh, uh, the product line. So if you think about the what, all of the product line has been proven to work. Across the how, we've successfully delivered deals across inbound and outbound, and across the who, we've successfully delivered solutions that work across all of these different industries that we've just discussed. And here you have an example of a few. But both in the traditional, enterprise Web 2 space, as well as the more Web 3 native space, we have things that work, and we have things that we can take and make them work again. And that's really what I want to do here over the next 6, 12, 18 months with the team, to really take what you see on this slide and repeat it tenfold. And I think that's where Aventus is going to grow, both in as an ecosystem, as mainnet transaction volume. Hopefully everything explodes if we just manage to repeat each one of the use cases on the slide, understand what it is that makes these use cases exciting, and who it is that we need to sell this to. And we understand some of these things already, by the way. I think that's really going to make us successful. And I guess lastly, hopefully by now you understand how these things fit together, but I really want to kind of reiterate the idea of that flywheel. How having that toolkit and that product line that has been proving value can help in making the conversations easier. When we talk to inbound channel partners, outbound, they will already see the tools that we have and how we've used those tools to deliver value, and they will just turn into existing clients, and that's where we come in. And hopefully those existing clients will just keep an iterative loop onto the product, and they will feed back into this toolkit to tell us whether those solutions that we've developed on top of Aventus work, and has the market changed. Do we need to iterate on those tools, and if so, how? And then we take those new iterated tools and we send them back to market. And that's where my team will come in, and that's where we will have that muscle to keep repumping those new tools, new fresh iterated tools into the market, getting feedback, understanding how we need to change it, and signing those deals across all of these verticals. I hope that makes it. I hope you are as excited as I am about this opportunity. I think there's a lot to do, and I'm sure you'll guys see soon enough some proof of the strategy that I've just outlined here. Again, it's only been 2 weeks, so I'm still kind of settling in, and I really want to make sure to do things right. I want to spend the first few weeks on actually setting up those processes. It's always very nice to come into a place where you get to do things from scratch the way you want to do them, and I'm really kind of appreciative of the ability to do so here. So I want to really kind of spend some time on putting these processes in place, honing down on that strategy, and then in a few weeks time actually start executing on it, so that you can see kind of the fruit of our labor. I'll stop there. Hopefully that is comprehensive enough of an overview. I appreciate that's been half an hour of me talking. So Hope you enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm obviously available across all of the groups, Telegram chats, or wherever. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to walk you through the details whenever. Thank you, guys.